on the 18th of October 2023, the government of Sierra Leone and the main opposition APC parties signed a national unity agreement. The unity agreement saw in its 80 recommendations, which were, of course, in a bid to strengthen the country's electoral systems, unity, peace, and, of course, stability. 1 year on this morning, we're going to discuss the implementation process and how far have we gone as a country in terms of its implementation. In the studios, we have Sidi Tunis, who is the National Publicity Secretary for the main opposition APC, and also Imran Silla, who is coming from the Strategic Communications Units in the Ministry of Information and Communication?
Information and
Civic Education now.
We thank you so very much. Good morning, gentlemen. It's a pleasure having you in our studios.
Thank you.
Good morning.
For the opportunity.
Thanks for having us.
Start off with you, Sidi. The implementation of the recommendations rests, it's very integral on the shoulders of the APC, who are the main opposition and who are one of the signatories to that particular document. So 1 year on, so far is your party pleased with the implementation of the recommendations in that document?
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me again. Well, we have two different, separate documents here. We have, first of all, the Agreement for National Unity, which has 8 resolutions in the agreement. And one of the resolutions is Resolution 3, which gave birth to what is now popularly known as the Tripartite Committee, which is where the 80 recommendations that you're talking about came from, the Tripartite Committee report. As far as with the implementation of the resolutions in the Agreement for National Unity, I would say that we have gone as far as implementing some fully and others partially. And I say this because when you look at Resolution 1, for example, which says the President and Dr. Samora Kamara should deliver speeches of national unity and cohesion, that has been done fully. There is also Resolution 7, which talk about, putting out a statement, joint statement condemning hate speech. That has been done fully. And you have Resolution 2, which was to resume participation in governance. That has also been done fully. Resolution 3 was to set up a committee for elections review processes and systems, which is now known as tripartite. They have completed their work and have submitted their report to HE, the President. That report, of course, has about 80, now 84 recommendations, which are now to be implemented. So as far as the work of the Tripartite Committee, as it relates to the Agreement for National Unity, I would say that also has been completed because they completed their work and they've submitted their report. We still have some that are partially implemented, like Resolution 4, which is really where a lot more work needs to be done. That has to do with detainees, political detainees. It has also to do with politically motivated cases, as we put it, and also reintegration of those who left their communities because of political intimidation and other issues. And then, of course, we have Resolution 5, which was which had to do with relationship among political parties. That I would say we have gone as far as even coming up with terms of reference as to how that is to be done, and the PPRC is leading on that. So that also has been really implemented well. Resolution 6, partially, and that has to do with communications among political leaders. that may be ongoing at certain levels, and so I would say that also it's happening. Resolution 8, which had to do with setting up of moral guarantors, names were submitted of local moral guarantors. Of course, we know we have the international moral guarantors. They were here a few months ago. We have now to put together the local moral guarantors, of course, with the inclusion of the Peace Commission, which has been really facilitated all of these things. So that is where we are as far as the implementation of the agreement for national unity is concerned. We still need to do a lot more, especially when it comes to dealing with cases that we refer to as politically motivated cases. And we still have some detainees that are yet to be released. But what I can say also to that is that we have a team comprising of government, us, the police, the ONS, working on that. And so modalities as to how these, those that are still in prisons, how their issues will be dealt with are being discussed by that committee. And as soon as they reach a consensus, I know we can also handle that. The cases, we had an expert that came in a couple of months ago through the UK High Commission. But of course, with all of the bureaucracies, it was a bit difficult, but it is something that we are still pushing for as a political party because it was part of the agreement and we have to ensure that they fully implemented.
Imran, so far, is it satisfactory in terms of the pace of the implementation process, say the 80 recommendations?
Well, so let us take our minds back to the aftermath of the elections and the results being announced, and the atmosphere that we witnessed, which felt contentious, emotive, and it was, to say the least, spirited. And we know that there was a lack of communication, right, on all sides, and that in itself had its own impact and implications, yeah, for public peace, public safety, national cohesion, and all the rest of it. Here we are, 1 year on since the signing of the agreement, and it was precisely because of that atmosphere that led to those conversations on the national unity agreement and all the resolutions which my brother has just highlighted. 1 year on, we're having a conversation about the peace and stability and those resolutions that were arrived at in a very, what should I say, cordial manner. It doesn't feel emotive anymore. You could sense, the public's disposition about this current moment, that it feels very peaceful. Sierra Leone is a lot more stable now and all the rest. And so that in itself is an achievement, yeah? That wasn't necessarily written down in any document, whether be it those resolutions or the tripartite that emanated from that national unity dialogue. So we have made progress indeed. And that is overwhelming. That is something we can sense and feel on a daily basis. Now, with regards to those fine details, like the National Publicity Secretary for the All People's Congress has indicated, I think there's progress. But then it's also a work in progress. Yeah? There's progress on those resolutions arrived at from the national unity conversations as it relates to the tripartite and the 84 recommendations. We know that there's commitment on all sides, and I dare to speak for everybody, right, in that room, on all sides, in making sure that we follow through on every single one of those recommendations. Interestingly enough, yesterday I was on the phone with Alpha Cisse, Deputy Minister of Justice. Politics aside, I'm a brother, right, so we get frequent conversation. And I was asking him about the work that is being done, because in very many cases he has been leading, right, some of these efforts at the Office of the Attorney General. And we know that ECSL has just done a retreat to look at those recommendations as it relates to them and how they can overhaul, right, and take those on board. And we know that there is progress. When the moral guarantors, international moral guarantors came, they said they were, I mean, in their words, that was the second to last paragraph, they said they were satisfied with the progress made so far, but urged all sides not to lose focus and to continue the dialogue and conversation in making sure that we fulfill the rest of those commitments. So I think we all feel heartened, right, by the work we have done, and that's a joint effort. There's no, I mean, we can talk, I can sit here all day and talk about the commitments of His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, to follow through on every single one of those recommendations. But I would be doing a disservice to the people of this country if you don't mention the contribution by the opposition, because they have also played their part, right? And that's the reason why we have made progress this much, and we also know that there is that sort of framework to continue conversations, even with those issues that we feel are not being worked upon right now as to how to make progress.
Again, I ask, how supportive are the main opposition, taking into account your response, I mean, your earlier submissions, as it relates to the tranquil nature of the conversation in the studios amidst what occurred just after the election?
How supportive has the opposition been?
Yes.
I mean, it's beyond 100%, I have to be honest. It's beyond 100%. And again, it shows that there's another way of doing politics. There's another way to talk about national development. And that is something I think I'd learn for the rest of my life. This is something I'll take note of, because we're in government today, led by President Julius Maada Bio, right? All things being equal, in God's own time, we'll have to be in opposition someday. Yeah? These are the moments you learn from, that when those contentious moments come, you revert back to these moments and how we were able to have these conversations and rise above and speak to our better angels, our higher angels, and move the country forward. I mean, these moments will stick with me, because I'm sure it will serve us. Our generation, myself and Sidi, is a lot younger than others. So we have potentially another 2 decades in health and in life, right, in this thing called politics. And so these are moments we'll draw from, right, to be able to make good, right, on our commitment to peace and national cohesion for the rest of our lives.
Yes, so Sidi, at this moment, the conversation seems to be just around the elites. The submissions here this morning seem not to have trickled down to the supporters of, say, particularly your party. Most of the times when you interact with them, these issues that we talk about are still fresh in their minds. Why is that the case?
Clearly, we cannot take the fact away that people were very, very much dissatisfied as far as the elections of 2023 are concerned. They're very much dissatisfied with the results. And, so as a result of that, you still have those who are of the view that something contrary to what is happening now should happen or should have happened. That is one aspect of it. And of course, you have a good number of people also who are engaged in spreading misinformation and disinformation to the bulk of the population. And so that is, even causing more problem as far as how people perceive their engagements and how people perceive others when it comes to the implementation of the Agreement for National Unity and also the recommendations in the Tripartite Committee. We see people, even those who are maybe referred to as elites, giving their different interpretation to provisions within the Tripartite Committee. And so all of these sends confusion in the minds of the membership and supporters of the party particularly, and the general populace at large. But it is our responsibility, those of us in authority, those of us who are charged with the responsibility of engaging our membership, to bring the right information and to tell them exactly where we are when it comes to how far we have gone with implementing the agreement for national unity. We have our reservations when it comes to the implementation of the recommendations of the tripartite committee. And this is something that we have communicated to our moral guarantors, both local and international. And this is something that we have also communicated to government, that we are of the view that the makeup of the steering committee as it is now, or as it is being proposed by government, I think is problematic, and it will make it very difficult for us to fully participate when it comes to implementing the recommendations of the tripartite committee. And also, we feel that the tripartite committee set up, produced the report, and then when it comes to the recommendation, I think we should have similar makeup of committees that are charged with the responsibility of implementing those recommendations. But as it is now, we see total dominance when it comes to committee makeup, especially the steering committee. And don't forget that the recommendations in the tripartite committee are to really strengthen our election systems, to give confidence to the populace in our electoral system, to ensure that we all have trust again. So to have a steering committee that is made up of 9 ministries and to be chaired by the chief minister as it is proposed, I think that is problematic, and that is why at this stage we have communicated that we feel that it is time for us to sit again and review that and come up with a better solution, so that we can all have confidence that these recommendations are being implemented in a way that we see fit to serve the purpose for which they are made in the first place, so that we don't see it as a certain group just trying to, do things that will still be questionable in the end, because if that happens, then it deceives the whole purpose of even having recommendations in the first place.
His submissions are one that casts doubts, aspersions, more so in terms of the setup. I think it's a very serious claim he's making.
Well, I would describe them as, for them, maybe sticking points. But those sticking points are issues that can be talked about. Yeah, I think on the side of government and in terms of our commitment, nothing is off the table. Yeah, so whatever we have to sit and talk about to make sure that we are in agreement as we move forward. I think we're open. We have shown that willingness over time to have those hard and difficult conversations, right, in moving forward on every single one of those resolutions emanating from the National Unity Dialogue or tripartite, the 84 recommendations that we've talked about. But let me also make this point that throughout the National Unity Dialogue and the tripartite conversations, for the most part, it has been between the government of Sierra Leone and the All People's Congress. We went into that national unity conversation, just the two of us, government on one side and the APC. And that has been the pattern leading up to the tripartite and even for the recommendation. So our thinking is, and this is something we can talk about also, our thinking is, in a country where we have other political parties registered, that partake in elections and did play their parts in the elections in 2023. In a situation where we also have civil society organizations and human rights organizations and all the rest of it, if a steering committee is going to be set up, you would ideally now want to broaden the space, or open the space up, if you like, so that we can have other political parties, civil society organizations, and all the rest, let them be part of the conversation now going forward. Because, yes, APC, I mean, as an institution, have to have the representation. We have to take into account and consider their views and what their thoughts are and how we can move forward based on the way they see things, yeah? I mean, if we can find a middle ground. But then we also do not want a situation where, as we move forward, assuming it's just the two of us, you have those other political parties now that will begin to raise their voices. I mean, it's the disconnect, yeah, that we're trying to avoid. So let us bring other institutions and other political parties. Now, those are discussions. I mean, he's in a position to have those discussions with the AG's office, the chief minister, and all the rest of it, so that at least there's a common ground as to how we bring everybody on board to be able to move forward.
Yes, Sidi, quickly ask me.
I mean, broadening is not the issue. Bringing in other players, of course, we agree with that. APA has a representative, you have civil societies, but that doesn't mean you can bring in 9 ministries with chief minister chairing the steering committee with 9 ministries, 1 rep from APA, 1 rep from civil society, 1 representative from SLASH. I mean, that is not how you broaden, because with that setup and 1 representative from the APC, the minority leader in parliament, the majority leader in parliament, you know, so when you look at that makeup, you can understand where I'm coming from. It's still the over-dominance of government ministries on the steering committee to review election systems, processes, and structures. So, I mean, how do you think the public will have confidence in that? You know, so if you have, for example, the Ministry of Justice sitting on the steering committee, you have the Minister of Finance, you have the Minister of Social Welfare, you have the Minister of Trade, etc., etc. I mean, you know, and then you have only 1 representative from APA, 1 representative from the APC, you know, which you went into agreement with to bring up these recommendations, and then you have 1 representative from the civil society, you know, where even if decisions are to be made where it will require a vote on issues, you will still have government dominating, and that is where we need to review that steering committee so that we can all have confidence.
I think, so Imran, just your final courtesies, because time is already not in our favor. Sidi mentioned, you spoke on the need for an expansion of the space, and Sidi said it's not just about expanding the space, but again, there should be an increase in their representation among members of that body. Just your final take, and then we wrap up.
So, I mean, like I have said, nothing is off the table. Yeah, government through the AG's office is committed to continuing conversations as we move forward. I mean, taking practical steps in putting together the steering committee and working on the recommendations. I mean, interestingly enough, for those recommendations that have to be captured by the Constitution of the Republic of Sierra Leone, well, a new constitution. These are not, they are not recommendations that are new. The late Justice Kawan did a brilliant job, right, with the constitutional review that he was asked to do by the previous administration. And a lot of the recommendations we see in the 84 recommendations which touches and concern a new constitution were already taken into consideration. So it's about how you fine-tune what those recommendations are now as against what was already done by the late Justice Edmond Cowan, which we hope to bring to conclusion. Don't forget that the constitutional process has taken about 20 years. And this government is looking to bring it to conclusion, making sure that we have a new constitution that is fit for the dreams and aspirations for a future Sierra Leone. So nothing is off the table. I can only end by saying that, and this is something I have said before, so I'm simply re-echoing, the commitment of His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, and his government in making sure that we play our part and do the needful in adopting all of these recommendations. That's a commitment that the President has made before, and we still maintain that disposition in making sure that we deepen, right, and strengthen our democratic space and its dispensation, making sure that there is peace and stability and national cohesion. I mean, I just wish for those who are involved in it on a daily basis, and that includes Sidi Tunis. I mean, at some level, I only wish them Godspeed and hope that we do the best we can, right, for the good of all.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Well, this is where we'll end today's edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone.